Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Kelly at KELLYTHUL on Twitter and Instagram. This is Squat Cobbler. Please like and subscribe. And with me, as always,
I am Dr. Mike at Official Pagan on everything. See, I remembered who I was this time.
that's impressive. See how I mixed it up, kind of changed it. Thought that might help get the neurons firing for you a little bit so you can get your name out. Great start for you. Excellent. You must be proud.
See the effort that I put into this show, remembering my
It's-
name and
yeah,
everything.
Yeah, it's remarkable. We're all greatly appreciative. So I think you never know with these things. I think this will be a quick one, but as Mike and I were prepping for this show, I shared with them basically the whole purpose of this show is for me to badger Mike to try and go out, dust himself off from the crash and burn of his first Super Console X investment. You got your money back, right? So no harm, no foul. But so let's kind of try and convince it to give them a go. But let's remind some of the folks who have been with us and share with some of the folks who have not your journey with the Super Console X.
So not exactly the same as yours. Yours was you ordered it, it arrived, everything worked, and life has been perfect ever since.
That's right.
Does that about sum it up?
Yeah, life has been perfect. Might be a little generous, but it's worked well.
You and the Super Console X lived happily ever after.
Ever after, yes.
Mine not so much. So I ordered it through Amazon, received it the next day, was very excited, cracked everything open. I paid a little bit more to get the totally legal ROMs that are included with it, a larger number. I believe it was meant to be 50,000 ROMs that were going to be included with it, and however many emulators built into it already. It runs off of Emulec, is that correct?
Yeah, it's the emulation platform. Yeah.
Okay, so all excited for everything. Got everything, plugged it in. Everything looked good. Scrolling around the menu, clicked on a game, got an error message. Clicked on another game on that same system, got an error message. Switched to another system, clicked on a game, got an error message. I was like, all right, let me reboot it. Maybe there's something. Took same thing. Took the memory card out, same thing. Ended up trying about 100 games. None of them worked. And on top of that, the actual included count of games was nowhere near the promised 50,000. Don't get me wrong, it was a lot. I think it was like 20,000 or something like that, but that is not even half of the advertised number of games. Not that anything worked.
Yeah.
So again, I tried every emulator and at least a few games on each one. Nothing worked. That was my experience.
Yeah. So what's the worst that could happen if you order another one? and your options are doing nothing but increasing at this point in time. I do think, and this may ultimately be, depends how successful I am at badgering Mike, if this turns into a race to say which one of us eventually has a working Super Console X and an Atari fight stick. It kind of creates that very cool merger and see what we got from a gaming environment standpoint there. But hopefully that'll happen. But we wanted to kind of talk a little more about Super Console X because some new versions are coming up. I mean, for a while they do all kinds of strange repackaging of this. So the gray version, kind of very Nintendo NES esque looking little square box, is kind of the standard form factor you see for most Super Console X's, and then the differentiation is the number of games that in theory will play, but you'll get different kind of total numbers of games on that. A couple of controllers with it that are far from useful, and very quickly I'd recommend going to an Xbox One controller or something like that. But you do get that, but that's kind of been the standard form factor. But I've seen a couple other things out there. There's a Super Console X stick that is kind of like if you took a Amazon Fire Stick and put it on steroids for a long time. It got to get really big. That's kind of what the stick is. Same idea, but it's just a straight HDMI port plug-in. Away you go on that, and that's how you kind of do it and do the gaming there. And then just recently, also available on Amazon, is the Super Console X Max, which has now changed the form factor a little bit. So same kind of questionable controllers come with it, but now it looks a lot like the At Games Core.
Yes.
It's a little puck that you can get now, but a lot of the same, and frequently, mostly because both Mike and I are kind of lazy, we don't go into hardcore into the technical specs of a lot of this stuff. We were talking big generalities about it. This one is better than the Super Console X.
More good.
More good, so good, more fast. But it appears to have better processing power. It does come with 4 gig of RAM, where really about every other Super Console X thing you've seen out there has been at 1. So for some of the gameplay stuff, that's on the higher end games. For a lot of the retro gaming stuff, you're good, kind of with it. But if you're going to start to get into some of the more sophisticated emulations, the additional processing power is probably better. So it actually looks really cool. I think the Legends Core is a pretty good looking little piece of hardware as well. It's got kind of a neon green light that kind of runs around its perimeter. That's got a nice look to it. But so they've changed the form factor a little bit with the Max. It's more good. It's got more RAM. It's supposed to be faster. There's still a gazillion different options out there with the one you took a shot at originally. And then what I stumbled across, and I don't know much about this because I just saw it before we came on, the Super Console X King. So this, I think this is you, Mike. You are the Super Console X King. Because it looks like it's pretty much the same gray box, but now they've done it in black. And they put the traditional alien, white alien kind of look, so it's got the oval eyes and the round head and all that. So it's all black, but it's got that kind of face imprinted on the top with a couple of green eyes, which I'm gonna bet glow, which would be awesome. And so super cool looking thing. Also comes with a remote and a couple controllers, as does this Max. So my Super Console X, just controllers, and then what kind of upgraded those. I've seen a lot of these other ones come with an actual kind of Roku-like controller too, which I guess for some things could be useful. I mean, probably scrolling through games, definitely. So you're already halfway there. You've got your fight stick. You could go to your Amazon account and do a reorder, or I'd recommend starting fresh and going with a slightly different version this time. But you willing to kind of dabble in that again, or are you going to reflect more?
I think it's something that I'm willing to try again. Probably not in the next couple of weeks because we have a lot of housework that's being done. But once that kind of dies down, I think it's something that I could see dabbling in again.
Yeah. And so I'm torn because I really think you should, because I think it'll be awesome to get it in the fight stick. I think it's going to really expand a lot of the cool things you can do, but I'll miss being able to rub your nose in it on a regular basis to go, oh, well, I'll go put that on my Super. I'm sure that's on my Super Console X because most of the time it is. I had two different
Everything
versions.
is.
I had 2 versions of Shaq Fu. Both of them work just fine. So that'll be good. And so was it a Revolution X?
Revolution X.
Revolution X. So I got to check. I'm going to have to check that out, the Aerosmith game, but I'm going to assume it's there because there's a crap ton of games on the thing.
Probably is.
And I will sometime soon here. We did a couple videos early on the Super Console X. I do want to kind of come back. One, I know it's kind of a sore spot with Mike, so I don't want to dwell on it too much. But I did want to kind of talk through as I kind of made the switch over to using my Xbox One controller, some pretty straight configuration stuff, and I've been up and going, and with the exception at this point of Still not really cracking the nut on Nintendo 64 games that require the Z or trigger pretty significantly. I still got to do a solve for that a little bit. About everything else has been just really fantastic, and I'm now able to play Doom and fire weapons, which was a big
Comes in handy,
upgrade.
I would imagine.
Big upgrade versus dodging.
Now, what platform are you playing Doom on?
So this was a straight main Doom port, and I'm doing that. They do have Doom 64, which I know you're a big fan of. I've not kind of gone back to that one to there, but it's just I'm doing what's really just kind of a straight Doom port from the PC, basically.
Interesting. I'd be curious to see if any of the weird console ports are on there.
I expect they are. So
everything is, I hear.
It's just a ton, just a ton. And it's, it gets tiring going scroll through all those games. I'm only in the B's.
It's too much to look at.
It takes so long to get to D. So I need a drink. So, but yeah, one day you might enjoy that as well. So, but yeah, I think so. The nice part of these is they'll vary in price depending on what the packaging is and what the offers are. You'll see them at right around 100. You see them at 125. When you start to look at things like the stick, seeing that typically hovering around 160, 170. The King looks like it's a deal at around 150, 155, and you get the alien head. So, you probably just go out there, browse a little bit, put something on your wish list. Sure, one of the fans will
pulling it up right now on Amazon. So take a look.
Yeah, definitely do a search on Super Console X King because that looks pretty sweet. But if its final home is inside your fight stick, I don't know how important it is. But
that is true. Yeah,
something about.
It does look cool.
Yeah. So.
Looking at it now. Yeah, that does come in at a higher price point.
Yep. Well, you don't get alien heads for free.
True.
These kinds of things.
There's nothing you guys have learned from this show. Alien heads aren't free.
And on that note, I think that no better time to say, hey, I think we're going to go for this week. Please like, subscribe, turn on notifications, consider purchasing a t-shirt. Support your local share.
Alien heads aren't free would be a good t-shirt.
Alien heads aren't free. Yes, that could be a shirt. We'll work on that, and who knows, maybe by the time this video goes out, it'll be available on the store because that's how we roll. All right, folks. Well, thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you again soon.
Thanks, everybody.
And you thought we were done. Some things have happened, so we wanted to provide even more Super Console X information for you. As you just saw in the previous episode, Mike was being a big whiny baby and wasn't going to order Super Console X. And I provided guidance and leadership and encouragement to the feeble, and he eventually did actually reorder Super Console X. Didn't necessarily go smoothly. He could maybe fill us in a little bit about that. But he is now the proud owner of a Super Console X Pro, and it works. So
yes,
that merits additional content. So that's what we're going to do. So, sir, why don't you regale us initially? First of all, thank me for encouraging you to buy it. And after you're done thanking me, then kind of go through your tale to eventually get this fine system into your household.
Well, I do appreciate your fine encouragement, sir. Your words of wisdom have made me finally a proud Super Console X owner. It was quite the journey to get here. Everybody already knows the first half of it, and this post-credit sequence, it was worthy though, because there were developments, as Kelly suggested. So I decided after we did our episode, I was going to go ahead and order Super Console X again.
You're welcome.
In between my emails that I get. So I'm sure all you guys are Amazon Prime subscribers, or many of you are. And you get those emails with suggested things that you would like. So in between my ones for body bags, that's not a joke. I said that to Kelly so that he could see that, and things like that. I got another Super Console X offer, and it was a good price. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and order it. I chose next day delivery for it because I was like, I'll surprise Kelly. I'll get some content right away. And didn't show up. Didn't show up at all. So the following day, which would be 2 days, so for regular Prime, I got an email from them apologizing that it seems like it's delayed, but I should get it any day now. The next day, it said, hey, it might be lost. So, if after one more day, you can cancel the order and get a full refund. Then I got later that night a email from Amazon saying that my order shipped, which is weird because I hadn't ordered anything else. And when I looked, the only thing that I was awaiting was Super Console X. Only now, everything had changed. All my shipping information was gone. And it just says that I had placed an order and it shipped. None of the previous tracking information, to the point where it got lost in the mail somewhere, existed anymore. So I started to think, and I told Kelly about this, hey, maybe they realized it was lost and just shipped me another one immediately because they saw where this was going again, that there was going to be problems with it.
But you forgot one little tidbit in that flow of information. Somewhere around the first order and some of the changes, you sent me a note that went, and I quote, they keep changing the date. I'm not sure if I'm even going to get one. I'm not going to try again if this doesn't show up. Remember that?
Exactly. I was not going to put another order in for it. I was done. If this was lost in the mail again, I was absolutely done. But
be a man, Mike. Be a Super Console X man.
But the package arrived, opened it up, immediately got a comment from the person I live with of, do we need more video game stuff? Yes, we do.
So just wait.
Yeah. That plays out differently than you might expect. So I hooked it up, started up, which is great and all, but my last one started up too. So I was not excited yet. Started up, and I realized I'm looking at the package and it says Super Console X Pro, and I didn't really know what the difference was because now there's the Max, the King, all that other stuff, the stick. So I didn't really know what the difference between the regular and the Pro was. I did notice that some of the Pro packages come with a remote. I don't really care about that. I have a number of other ways that I stream everything, so I wasn't really concerned with the remote. But it looks like what they did was shipped me out the Pro without the remote. Because I ordered the 30,000 and whatever games that Kelly had. This time I got the Pro, which is 45,000 and some change games on there,
including the Amiga library, which is not present, which is a great injustice. And we might want to talk about USB sticks and stuff after the show. But anyway,
absolutely. Yeah, I was really excited about that because I don't know if we talked about it on the show, but Kelly and I have definitely talked about this. Kelly's a big Amiga guy. I'm more of a Commodore 64 guy. Not a ton of experience with Amiga. In fact, the only game I'm certain that I had played on Amiga was Nightbreed, which is based off the Clive Barker movie that I was a big fan of. And there are two versions of that game, and both of them are actually included on there. One is more of an arcade style, and the other is more of a story-driven game. And both are included on there, along with Flashback and Otherworld, Bram Stoker's Dracula. Lots of interesting Amiga titles.
Excellent.
But despite the complaints when I brought it in, the first night, I felt that I was alone in the living room, and I was like, hey, let me get a controller set up, not the garbage controllers it came with. You can tell just by holding them. Like, I have big monster hands, and I felt like if I was into a game, this controller would crumble in my hands. So I got my fancy 8-bit Do controllers, plugged them in, got everything set up, started playing. Couple of things that I've noticed. I have had no issues with any of the ROMs so far, including international versions of games and things like that. I've tried out, I think, most of the systems at this point, even some of the weird handheld stuff, and everything seems fun. Because I don't know if yours includes this, but it includes the Pokemon handheld system.
Yeah.
So that's on there. So I tried out. One of those.
They throw the kitchen sink at you. You got watch games. There's a lot of stuff on here.
Yeah, there's a lot. So I tried out a lot of stuff, haven't run into any issues until I tried out Nintendo 64, and I was excited for Nintendo 64. I wanted to get into some GoldenEye. There's a few other games on there. I never played the Nintendo 64 Castlevania games, and I'm a huge Castlevania fan. It's probably my favorite video game franchise overall. I love so many of the games, and there's a couple that aren't as great. Don't get me wrong, and there's at least one full misstep in there. But for the most part, I think all of the Castlevania games are really solid. So those are two that I'd never played. So bring up Nintendo 64. The ROMs load, but controlling is nearly impossible.
Yeah.
And it's because of the button layouts. And as we were talking off mic for a second, Nintendo 64 had kind of a unique controller. Do you want to explain that to people, Kelly?
Yeah, well, just a couple things on. I mean, one, the kind of button layout and single joystick combo, gamepad kind of combo, it was a little different. But the big difference is that Z button, the trigger in the middle of the Nintendo 64, which from a gameplay standpoint was awesome, was a trigger. But I have had, and this is something both Mike and I are going to look into a little bit more. It's where I've had trouble with my Super Console X as well, is that the Nintendo 64 ROMs obviously look like they're ready to roll and good to go and everything's there, but it will not recognize that Z. And you can't, and I'm having a hard time finding a way to map it. It appears there are solutions to that. We're going to figure it out. When we do, we'll come back and talk more about it. But that Z button just doesn't have the trigger in the center of the bottom of the controller, does not have a counterpart in any other controller. And so it's a problem. And so I think, like I said, there are some solutions out there. Once we understand a little bit better, we'll come back and probably do a specific show on that, because the Nintendo 64 collection is nice. I don't have GoldenEye on mine, so that's probably one of your other pro move ups is that. So that's cool.
Yeah, it has both the James Bond games on there. It does have GoldenEye. There's a lot of great stuff on there. The only other one that, and it's really not an issue because it's the same. So I'm a Commodore 64 guy. Pulled up, obviously went straight to Commodore 64. I have the Commodore 64 Mini, which is an excellent system, and I really want to get the full size one. Now that's a very different experience than just playing ROMs of games, because the Commodore 64 Mini and the full size are actual recreations of the computer. So you can actually install ROMs through BASIC, and you have to type in commands and things like that. It's really interesting. It's not just about playing the games, though. It's more about recreating that whole home computer experience, like the classic computer experience. So that's a totally different thing, in my opinion. And you should go back and listen to our episode where I recommended that. But that's a totally different experience. So I wanted to just jump into something, and not thinking you do run into a controller issue the same way you do with that, unless you hook a keyboard up to it. It was a computer, so you do need keyboard commands for some of them. It gives you the option of pulling up a keyboard on the screen. In the middle of the game, though, that is not convenient.
Yep.
So that's problematic. So that's another one I have to look into to see, can you add a USB keyboard to it, or is there a shortcut option, things like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure a USB keyboard is going to treat you well. I haven't tried that yet. I've got all the stuff to do that. I haven't tried that yet, but I bet you that's going to be a good solve for you.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's what it is, and that's what you do with the Commodore 64 Mini. The keyboard on that is just for show because it's a micro version of it. So you have to hook a USB keyboard up to it. You can pull up an on-screen keyboard just like you can here. That is extremely cumbersome, and especially if you're in the middle of the game, makes it almost impossible. So I'm sure, though, this just has regular USB ports. I don't see why it wouldn't work the same way. But that's another thing we could look into. It's the only other weird controller mapping thing I've come across so far.
So you're there. You think you're alone. You're getting stuff set up.
Yes.
What happens next?
So I'm scrolling through some games. I was going through Amiga. I switched over to NES. I wanted to see, there was a couple of games I was looking for. Specifically, I'm a big fan of the Devilman series, comics, movies, all that good stuff. There was an NES Devilman game. I've played ROMs of it. It was never released in North America. I played some ROMs of it, but they weren't great quality. So I was looking to see if it was on there. It is. And then I was looking for my favorite NES games, Friday 13th, things like that. and also the NES Splatterhouse game, which is another one that wasn't released in North America, but it has a following here because for some reason all the other Splatterhouse games are released here, just not that one. So, which is good because I'm a big fan of those games. But as I was scrolling through NES, I hear behind me, oh, that game's on there? When I landed on something. Then, oh, is this game on there? What about this game? Just give me the controller. And then I lost it for the rest of the night. So it went from, do we really need that, to just give me the controller.
Yeah, be sure to talk to that individual and give them you're welcome. So all the credit goes to Kelly. So awesome. Well, I'm glad you're up and running. Super excited to go through some more. We're gonna be doing a lot of stuff with this, I think, as we go forward. The Amiga world's been open to Mike. That's going to open up some good conversations for us. We got some troubleshooting to do on 64, Commodore 64, and Nintendo 64. So some good things.
Most 64s.
Yeah, just talk about it's a 64 problem. So we'll get after some of that stuff, but we're looking forward to it. But this all kind of came down. We had done the previous Super Console X content, and it just made sense to kind of provide this update, allow Mike a chance to thank me, and then we're going to be doing a lot more on there. So anything else, sir? No,
I think that's it. I mean, obviously, if you guys have any suggestions on games you'd like to see us cover, particular systems on there, controller layouts, anything kind of weird like that, feel free to leave it in the comments so we can hit all that stuff for you guys.
Sounds great. Thanks for watching, folks.
Thanks, everybody.